What's going on, everybody? It is I, Gilbert,
Me, Harry.
And me, Peaky.
and we are here to be talking about the greatest, I was gonna say if not the greatest Marvel thing, the greatest animated Marvel thing to ever fucking exist. You can all fight me on Twitter about that, or don't, because I'm not gonna go look. But yeah, no, we are talking about X-Men '97, episodes 6 through 10. Make some noise as we do this again. Okay, it's not true though. We're gonna get in trouble for that. But yeah, no. What's up, everybody? I know there's very few people in right now, but I'm sure you'll jump in as we go. And so yeah, X-Men, fucking awesome show. You guys you can fight me in here on it because that show, I can't even. I'm gonna say it a million times. It's great. Peaky, what are your thoughts?
My mind was absolutely blown with this series, and I was like, I was very wary of how it was going to go, like what it was going to be like compared to the 90s, but it's blown the 90s one out of perspective as well.
Absolutely, I agree in 100%. Harrison, how about you? I'm assuming you watched it all today to be fresh for it.
Yes, yeah. I caught up very recently. So yeah, no, it's grand. I mean, yeah, I think that's the thing that's amazing about it is that it takes what was in the 90s show, makes it so much more watchable. You know, like I think if you go back to the 90s show, especially if you don't have the nostalgia for it, you might have a hard time getting through it because it's very much a cartoon of its era. But now it's really like focused on plot. It's really focused on story. You're not having the sort of episodes that you could skip that one. You don't really need to see that story. You got to go through this, and it's a great looking show. It's fantastic.
Yeah, dude.
Fantastic.
Oh my god, it is. Yeah, it's beautifully animated, and yet still kind of feels like it looks like the old style, but update. I don't know. It's a weird kind of like amalgam of being in 4K, but also still in that 90s style.
Yeah.
They certainly managed to keep the 90s in, like the character design and like costumes and stuff. Like, obviously, a lot of them are the same, but when people turn up in new costumes, like, no, they absolutely fit in here. It's not like they just dropped someone from the 2020s into a 90s cartoon.
Interesting you say that. We'll talk about that. I do want to talk about something that they bring from the 2020s into the 90s in the show, but we can bring that up a little later. So before we get into this, I want to talk about that. You have Magneto Sympathizer under your name. What, dude? Let's talk about that.
Magneto was right.
He was not right.
He's Magneto absolutely right.
He has become the new Thanos of this fucking thing. Never mind the snap. How many people did he kill when he turned off the fucking world's magnetic field? Because there are 8,000 planes in the sky right this second. Like any given moment, there's 8,000 to 13,000 planes in the sky. He murdered so many people.
Yeah, okay. yeah, something like that.
Think about any submarines that are underwater at the time. That magnetic pulse is gonna wipe the subs out as well. It shut down nuclear reactors for God's sake. So
I'm pretty sure I remember that movie, watching that movie, The Core. I'm pretty sure birds, there's some kind of bird that navigates through magnetic fields. So those things are flying into walls left and right.
A bunch of really confused sharks.
Yeah,
okay, but there are certain things within our political global situation right now where there are a lot of people talking about the right to defend yourself after an attack. And frankly, if it's okay for that to happen, then what Magneto did was perfectly justified. And also, in doing that, was preventing a lot of other murders. Because, yes, you're right, all those planes fell out of the sky. But also, those planes were full of cyborgs that were murdering people if they didn't like them, if they detected some genetic difference.
Yeah, I do see your point there, but I'm oh, yeah. All right, you have a point there, but damn, dude.
You have a point, but
it makes the snap look like. Peaky, go ahead. You say something. I'm trying to gather my thoughts.
It's tipping the scales right there. Okay, it might have been a good thing, but also possible genocide happening at the same time. It's
I don't. I think it's ridiculous to. Well, okay, no, actually, it's not. I think Magneto was like definitely saying, "I am about to commit a genocide," but that was literally in reaction to an actual genocide that was currently happening, and
Fair enough.
partly also Magneto sympathizer because there are some weird things said about him in this show. Like in these episodes, Scott gets really weird on it. Scott Summers, Cyclops, keeps going like, "See, this is what happens when you let Magneto be in charge." And I was like, none of this is Magneto's fault. None of this. What happened to Genosha's got nothing to do with Magneto. Like, what Bastion is doing has got nothing to do with Magneto. All of those things would have still happened if Charles was still in charge. Like, because they weren't his plan. It was Sinister and Bastion doing their whole thing. Magneto picked himself up to the UN and like was Tim's turn up as on your right, and I honest to God thought he said you are right. I was like, thank you, Tim. Thank you.
On you go.
Maybe that's he usually says on your left. Maybe he is. He's
Ah.
Nah, but seriously, Magnus rules. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, he's on. See, I'm about that. I'm like, yeah, he did warn the UN. He's like, all right, I'm trying to be better, so you guys need to do the same. But to their credit, it wasn't the UN that ordered the fucking the wiping. Well, the one chick, the council, the blonde chick, the one who freed him at the end. I'm like, okay, so she was colluding with Sinister and Bastion, but the other UN members weren't. Like Spider-Man wasn't. You know, the people in Japan. I'm just bringing up the cameos. Like Spider-Man and Flash Thompson weren't fucking. Mary Jane wasn't sitting there.
I also like Magneto. Also was one of the people who had a solution to it. Like Magneto was like, "Cool, I'll stop it." Everyone else was like, "We don't know what to do." Oh no, Magneto's like, "I could just turn off electricity. That'll probably have something to do with that."
And like, if that's all he did, I'm like, oh, I'm all for it. But then he's like, so you guys can follow me to Asteroid M. We'll make a new world away from this shit planet. And he takes 2 people. Like, you can't really make a new race of mutants if you only take 2 people and then fuck the rest of the planet, right? Like, what about the rest of the mutants that were on Genosha that are still like living there? And he's just gonna. Well, when the sun sets tomorrow, the planet is dead. It's like, fuck, dude. It's like, what is your plan? Just to fuck Rogue for the next, like, 20 years? Or what?
I did think that the whole scene was weird, because he does that. He does like, come on. And then 2 people go, and he goes, all right, that's enough. And I'm like, you could have stayed and let her... Like, because, do you know what I wanted to happen? I thought it might have. I thought Beast might have gone with Magneto.
Really?
Because there was a really cool scene where he was talking to the reporter, and he goes like, maybe our mistake was we never should have asked for your tolerance to begin with. And I'm like, yes, Beast, that's what this is about. That is absolutely what this is about. It's like this thing of like, they're asking for permission to live, and like, you don't have to ask permission. Like, that should just be given to you. And so, no, I'm putting myself down as a Magneto sympathizer. I'm aware that if it was happening now and I was just a regular guy, Magneto would kill me. That sucks. I'd rather be a mutant, but hey, I don't know. If it was Magneto in the first X-Men, would have been okay with it. Admittedly, I might have turned into a jellyfish man that then burst into water, but at least I would have been a jellyfish.
So this is one thing I want to bring up, though, is that's actually a good point. Is that why, of all the plans, so we have across the different X-Men universes, we have just flat out kill them, use a Sentinel to kill them. We have enslavement and like concentration camps kind of thing. We have some people who, like Bastion, his plan was to make a race of like super Sentinel humans that, again, enslave mutants. And then we have some that are, say, cure them. I'm like, why do you guys never just like, hey, let's find out what the X gene is and how to insert it into us? I'm like, give yourself mutant powers. What's like the Gen V does that shit, or like, Vought, the boys.
Yeah. I could see that. Like, the thing is, one of the great things about X-Men is that you can really explore some very complicated things because that turns into a whole thing. It's similar to some of the stories that you had in what was it? The Deus Ex, the later games, like the Human Revolution and stuff like that, where you end up on this weird thing of this weird kind of, if everyone gets to be a mutant, but then like it's only if you can afford to become a mutant. And then, like, do the people who get mutant powers then sort of become like the elite and just regular humans? Or then, because you don't want that either. You want everyone to just kind of work together. So something that is also handled a bit in The Legend of Korra, you know, where they've got the benders versus the non-benders and that kind of deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, it's complicated stuff, but like I think like for me, there's a weird, I can't remember what it's called. It's like the paradox of tolerance. Like you can't be tolerant of intolerance, otherwise intolerance kind of wins and it ruins the whole thing. That's kind of how I feel with Magneto. Magneto, like you know.
Yeah.
So Harrison, if I'm understanding correctly, you are saying that like if we should have just like when a guy's like, yeah, Hitler was right, we should just kill that dude. Just
I mean, kinda, yeah. You know, just be like, you just lost your human card, sir. Like,
I mean, wrong.
I'm not disagreeing, but I'm not agreeing either. For you know, just because I live in a place where there are a significant amount of those fucking assholes.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've met them myself. Like, yeah, they are around, but I'm just like, I feel they at least deserve to have their teeth kicked in. Just once, you know.
Oh no, fair enough. It should be completely legal to be like if you're wearing a swastika, we should be allowed to kick you in the balls.
Yeah, just
chop them off.
Whoa.
If someone's an open Nazi sympathizer, you can legally do anything to them that is done in a WWE ring, like a chair to the back of the head, like just egg the people's elbow.
Yeah. Suplex
pile driver. Suplex. Fucking like smash him with a chair.
People elbow someone in the jugular, like
yeah, you're not ready to rumble in the cage with the Harrison. That's some good
bone saws ready.
Exactly. All right, so yeah, of these episodes, I think I would say that a lot happened in that. Like, first of all, I think it was kind of unexpected for episode 6 to just kind of be like, oh yeah, so Genosha and everybody died and Gambit's dead and you know, real with that. Oh yeah, and then by the way, Professor X is over here getting laid by some alien chick, and oh yeah, and you guys remember Ronin? Remember Ronin the Conqueror? That one guy from that really, really popular movie?
I do.
Well, he's in this too.
It was cool to see the Kree. I was like, oh, nice.
I like as soon as I saw them come on screen, I was like, "What's the fucking Kree? It's fucking Ronin. What the fuck are you doing there?"
Yeah, I thought that was good. I'm sure there was a lot of stuff in there, like just with Gladiator, with all the other characters who didn't really have like lines. They were just kind of in the background. I feel like there was a lot of references there that I'm not getting because I'm just not a hardcore comic book fan. At least not of that stuff.
I remember the Shi'ar very well from the 90s show. Like I think there's one of the things I like about the 90s show is that it really pulls in everything, even the more out there stuff. So during the Phoenix Saga and everything, you get to go to space. I've seen Gladiator before. I've seen all those guys. I'm like, this is cool. They even had the Brood back in the day, and the Brood are like a really fun little sci-fi monsters for the X-Men. Loved it.
Yeah. So but that was, I'll admit, it was cool having the Shi'ar there because I think you did mention that, Peaky. I didn't remember that Professor X was off in space with the Shi'ar Queen. So yeah, you did mention that though at the beginning when we talked about this last time. That or I think when we talked about the original 90s show.
Yeah.
But either way, the point is that you did mention that, and so I'm like, okay, so that is a thing. But I just felt like it was a weird left turn for them to just be like, oh yeah, this is what he's doing. And then
it kind of played into motion of what happened in episode 5, towards the end of 6 when Professor X gets that vision of Gambit dying and Genosha being obliterated. So it kind of oh okay, so while Genosha was off getting firebombed, this was happening with Charles, and as soon as Genosha's bought, you kind of see it from
he senses it the second it happens.
Yeah,
which that's also a scary thing. Which can he just sense anyone in any part of the universe at any time? How far does his powers go?
So I think it was more because of his connection with the X-Men. It was it's not just a normal human family friend connection. It's more of a bond type thing that he created with the X-Men. But also, it's been said before that Charles has like when certain things happen to mutants, especially that many mutants, Charles can feel it. It's happened
like a
before. It's
disturbance in the
happened in
Force.
multiple times in the comics. It happens. It happens in like I think it's happened a couple of times in like the other films. And like you think that much psychic energy is being projected by all of these mutants dying. A high-level psychic like Charles is gonna feel it.
So that's my thing is that the other one, the Shi'ar Queen, she didn't feel it. So I'm like, huh, that's kind of weird. She didn't sense what he sensed. So I thought that was a little strange. But you did mention just a second ago that it could be because of their connection. The only thing that I just wanted to bring up one very important thing that a line that he said. And I'm like, and that's what brings me. He said they were dancing, drinking wine, making love, and I'm like, what the fuck? Were you watching them while they were fucking, you perverts? Which brought a whole other line of questioning of like when Scott and Jean used to sneak off and do shit, which they talk about in another episode. I'm like, did you sense that too? Like, whenever kids hook up in the X-Mansion, you just sense that and you just know it's happening, you fucking perv.
I mean, he's in a school full of teenagers a lot of the time. He's not an idiot. He knows there's going to be some canoodling.
You know what? My niece is 16 years old. I'm well aware of what she's probably doing. It doesn't mean I know what's going on when it's happening. He probably does, though. That fucking sicko.
I imagine, like, if you are like Xavier and you could hear the thoughts of everyone walking past you, you must have developed some skills of blocking stuff out. And like just having like I don't need to know about that. You know, he's more like he's like a nice dad that's, you know, like, hey, I don't need to know about it as long as you guys are safe. You know, he's just gonna
just do it in the house.
It's like the psychic equivalent of like knocking on the living room doors, like just gonna come in and go to the kitchen. I'm not looking.
Like when you put a sock on the door and it's like just walks past.
Put an astral sock on the door. It's like have your like a little astral plane room or whatever the fucking like Xavier looks in. Oh shit, nope, the kids are doing something.
I wonder whether his ability to do that does have some things like to being specifically in the astral plane at that time. Also, I suppose since it was Genosha, there was such a murder there, and we know that Madeline Pryor died there. That thing of there were other psychics who died
and
there.
Emma Frost didn't die, but she was there.
Yeah, so whether the psychic abilities of some of the people in Genosha is part of what like gets it that strong that it can reach him out when he's with the Shi'ar. I mean, you know, speculation, but it could be something along those lines.
And I'm down for it. I'm just like, again, it makes me not so much like that's a stupid lore breaking. No, it's more like, holy shit, dude. They've been very much lowballing how powerful fucking Professor X is. If he can sense that stuff from across like interstellar distances.
I mean, he is one of the most. He's one of the most powerful psychic mutants out there.
Mm-hmm. There was a weird thing that I remember hearing. They might have retconned it now, but for a long time, it was a weird thing that he wasn't an Omega level mutant. It was like he's good, but he's not like super powered like other guys are. And him being able to sense that like from that far away does make you question things like how much do you really need Cerebro if you have that? But you know,
but then again, he was like in the astral plane trying to teach everyone a kind of like a lesson. So like maybe being inside the astral plane might have projected his psychic abilities that extra bit to be able to sense that.
So yeah, it was just a weird thing to me. And again, I really got caught up on that line of like, Xavier, what the hell did you mean by that? Like, are you watching them while they're doing stuff? Like, what the hell?
I did hear that. Like, they show when he says that, there's like a glimpse of Rogue kissing Magnus. And I do wonder, you know, whether he's using the more broad term of making love. We've got to take it to mean so specifically having sex. But, like, you know, technically, if you are having a romantic relationship, you know, and you're dancing and, you know, holding each other close and kissing, you are making love in a manner.
Yeah, all right,
fair enough. It's flimsy, but
so it's not much of the literal sense of making love. It's more of like a figment of speech type of thing.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I thought I had a point. Sorry, continue.
No, yeah, you're good. And so with that, I'm like, that was an interesting episode. It was again like it showed us Charles Xavier, showed us what he's doing, gave him a reason to come back to Earth because then he sensed that Gambit's dead, that everybody else, all the 1,000 or thousands, hundreds. I don't know.
I think it's 8,000. Like a lot of people died in Genosha.
It was
Okay,
a
so
genocide.
thousands.
So
Yeah, all right. So the thousands of people that died in Genosha, and he just senses that right away. And then we come back. The next episode is like weeks later, I guess, and it's. Oh no, actually no. The next episode is actually the Storm episode, isn't it?
Yeah. We go back to Storm and then we see Storm.
Life, Death Part 2.
Actually,
I actually might have those
episode?
back. I actually might have those backwards. I think the Life Death is the first episode, and then the one after that is the Charles.
Oh yeah,
episode.
it might be. Yeah.
Yeah, but that one was also cool. Let's also talk about that one. Storm's episode was cool. Like figured she like kind of cured her what's it called? Claustrophobia.
PTSD. Claustrophobia. Yeah.
Well, yeah, she cured her claustrophobia, cured her PTSD, and then he just kind of got over being like not having her powers anymore.
Yeah. That was a bit about how easy it was. I also like that she is in that little space. She gets her powers back and then immediately leaves and forgets about Forge for a little while. She's just like, he can wait while I have a fly around. It's fine.
Like scare some innocent horses and just fucking fly around.
I gotta admit that I love the new costume that she had from there on.
I like how she just grew her hair out of nowhere.
I was gonna say that, yeah. How like she went Super Saiyan and got her hair back.
I mean, she looks great. Like that looks way better than the character than the way that they had her look before, like at the beginning of the show. But I'm just like, that's just a weird thing for them to. She just like got her goddess powers back and then just. I'm like, whatever. I'm down for it. Let's see what other stuff happened in that episode. I mean, I don't know. I never really knew much about the what's it called, the owl thing. Come on.
Oh yeah, the adversary.
Adversary. There we go. I knew it was an A word. But yeah, the adversary. And then also, like, to get rid of it, did you notice how Forge uses sorcery?
Yes,
I did. I was very happy with that.
Like, that was kind of cool. He's like, oh, my mom used desert magic. I'm like, I recognize that circle with the fucking sparks.
That's not desert magic. That's
some Doctor Strange shit right there. And I did personally, since I live in New Mexico, I did like the little like homage to the Zia symbol right there on the book. So that was kind of cool. Because that is a Native American symbol. Like, I would have liked to just fucking go for it and use the actual fucking symbol, but whatever. It never actually said he's in New Mexico, so
I mean, they might not have been allowed to.
Fair enough. But either way, so yeah, that was cool. Like the idea that he's able to be like, in addition to his technos, like I kind of forget what his power is. It's like he's just really good at building machines.
Well, he can make anything that he can think of, can't he?
Yeah.
But with that, I also like imagine that with sorcery. Like
he's basically a living 3D printer.
So, but with that, I'm like, if you add sorcery into that, I'm like, like, imagine a gun that fires like sorcerer bullets, or like some shit like that, like a magic gun or something. Like, I mean, I feel like that's what they're going to be building on the next season, because especially with the ending episode, they had Forge like looking for the next X-Men team. They had like Shadowcat and Iceman. They did show that Pietro and fucking Wanda exist, but they're off planet. They let me see. Showed who else did they show in there? Emma Frost was one candidate. So we're definitely going to get another X-Men team, at least with Forge.
Yeah, no, we'll probably get to the end, but the ending, the promise that they have for a new season is quite interesting to me.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about those the other universes. Then, let me see what I guess I am kind of jumping ahead on that one. So let's go back. Let me see after the Forge episode. What is there when there's the Charles Xavier one, and then after that is I'm trying to. I just watched these episodes.
I know, today. I think partly when you watch it all once, it kind of blends in a bit because So you get Rogue after Genosha goes rogue and is just flying around trying to find Bolivar Trask and the other guy whose name escapes me.
Gyrick.
Yeah. And so you get a cameo from Thunderbolt Ross when she goes and breaks into the prison designed to hold the Hulk. And I do love Rogue, like in this. I really appreciate that she reacts in a way that I think is perfectly reasonable for what happened.
I think she goes a little off the deep end. Like she drops fucking. I like how Trask is about to jump anyway, and she just drops him off the fucking building.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. That definitely feels like a moral choice in a video game. Like you just picked like Rogue or whatever it is in Mass
Renegade.
Effect. Renegade, yeah, you just picked Renegade, just punted him off a bridge. Like it was that was pretty cool. And also connected to that, I really quite liked the way that Nightcrawler mentioned it, because like Wolverine has a line when Rogue goes off and Jubilee's like kind of sad, and Wolverine says like, "Was it grief is a lonely war. She's got to work this out on her own." And then Nightcrawler's like, "I was there. You weren't. This isn't just grief. She's right to be afraid and like this." And I've not been as big into Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler's often one of my more favorite characters. No guesses why. But it's been spoiled slightly because he's so darn Jesus-y in this show. And I know that's the thing with Nightcrawler. I know that's real. I know that's a whole part of his character. But like after a certain point, that's every line he's got. He's like, "Oh, have you asked God what he thinks about it?" I'm like, "Don't care what God thinks."
Yeah, no, I thought it was a little cliche to have him be the officiant of Gambit's like funeral and being like, Gambit used to say that's it, and making puns and shit. I'm like, oh my fucking god, we get it, dude.
I did like how like obviously you're saying about the cameo of Thaddeus Ross, like all the soldiers are worried that like shit's gonna go down. It's like this was created, this was made to stop the Hulk, and then as soon as he says that, Rogue just pops through the sea again. It's like, Captain America. She's a bit stronger than the Hulk. Like, that Cap stuff as well. Like, especially when she like yeets his shield, like fucking cross.
That was unnecessary. That was fucking unnecessary.
Well, you don't need this, then, do you?
you know that Cap. So I'm sure like the serum, whatever, allows him to be able to. Okay, so she was up there and she threw the thing over here, and he can kind of calculate. But he just had to trek all the way up that fucking mountain to go get his goddamn shield, like that.
I can see that in my head. I can see that shot of Chris Evans just being like, "All right then."
Yeah.
He's just straight up, just like, okay, and just starts running up the fucking mountain or some shit. I'm like, that's bullshit.
Thor's hammer was much easier than this.
Straight up, yeah. I could see some shit. What's cool is that they had the guy. So the voice actor for Captain America is the same voice actor they have for Captain America in What If.
I thought it might be because it sounded very similar and very close to Chris Evans.
And then I don't think we mentioned this on the last time we did the review of this. So did you know? Also another What If thing? Did you notice that before the Genosha attack, who was up in the sky? Like there's a slight cameo. Like you can see you can see the Watcher just before Genosha gets attacked. Like he's sitting there and kind of had like a sad look on his face.
It's very faint. Like you can it's a blink and you miss it type scenario. Like it's literally you just see like a small outline of the Watcher's
and like head. One of the stars is his eyes, and then you can and you can see that, and you're like, oh shit! And it took like my second or third watch through to see that, and I'm like, oh fuck!
I mean, I spotted it first, but...
which is why. So in the following episode after Rogue's whole thing, and they have the guy or Trask turns into a Sentinel. Cable shows up and saves the day. They start talking about why Cable why Cable couldn't stop Genosha, and he talks about how he did it like over 100 times, but every time he does, he gets pulled back. And so Beast brings up that the mystics of Kamertage, Doctor Strange reference, like they talk about how there are fixed points in time and a fixed thing across all realities, which brings me to the idea. Are they going to set up some kind of like? So this is I have two ideas actually. First one is, are they going to set up like a what if of well shit, I'm getting ahead of myself, I guess. Yeah, first thing is, are they going to set up a live action Genosha kind of thing happening? Because if it's a fixed point in time, then that means it happens in all timelines, even the sacred timeline.
That's interesting. That's an interesting idea. Yeah.
So I'm like, that's my thought. And then the second one is, because of all the what if references, are they going to do a what if for Bastion? Like, what if Bastion became a fucking like an X-Men? Yeah, because
Oh.
Storm says that one line of like, in another world, he would have been in this picture instead of us. And it's like, oh. So yeah, I'm like that was me. I'm thinking they're gonna do a what if thing for this X-Men series. And I also believe that they're probably going to have, when they actually eventually get X-Men into the MCU, we're going to have a Genosha episode or like movie, or like we're going to have a scene where Genosha gets attacked and like.
I think it'll be interesting because, like, it seems like they will have to use some of the multiverse TVA stuff for the X-Men. From what we've seen of the new Deadpool movie, that's going to use that. It's a good thing that they've already got in the story to use that and bring it in. So I'd be fascinated to see how that comes about and what they can do with that. I'll be interested to see, whether they do have a Genosha. I kind of don't want them to just recreate what they've done in the cartoon in live action.
Yeah.
But perhaps if it is linked, I mean, like, because there are some interesting like parallels that I thought was strange. Like, for example, there's a moment where Bastion becomes I can't think of his name. The guy from the second Avengers movie, Ultron.
Oh,
he becomes
Ultron,
basically. Like, he even like says he's going to do the same thing. He's going to throw an asteroid into the planet to cause like a mass extinction. Like, and it's like that's literally Ultron's plan. And then he covers himself in organic metal. I'm like, this is Ultron. So whether there's a thing of like whether those things can be sort of connected loosely, or like a bit like the George Lucas style of it rhymes sort of thing, like that certain types of events are kind of destined to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, and it makes a certain amount of sense, because when we see again, like with what if, with Loki, with the way that they're doing this multiverse stuff, and it's like all these different universes that could be slightly similar but have various differences. Like it's like it may not be exactly the same, but it's like kind of it goes along the similar lines. And so yeah, and then of course we got all kinds of stuff. Like we got Doctor Strange, we got Silver Samurai, fucking Peter Parker. Weirdly, Flash Thompson and Mary Jane all in the same scene.
Yeah, that was a bit strange. That.
So I wanna bring that up. Now you've mentioned that.
Go for it.
So I don't know if anybody else has read it or have heard, but that scene with MJ, Peter, and Flash, that is set directly after the Spider-Man animated TV show, where we saw Peter trying to find MJ. So Peter found MJ and brought her back.
Nope, another clone.
It was
turns out Mr. Sinister cloned Mary Jane too.
It was pretty much more or less confirmed by the writers that like that's the real MJ. Peter found her.
And they are calling for the original writer of the '90s Spider-Man to come back and can do a connecting show.
Yeah,
and so fans have been calling for it, and I'm all for it. I'll watch it.
I mean, given how well X-Men '97 has done, getting like Spider-Man '98. Yes.
Hell yes. So let me see here. There was also there was Doctor Strange. There was Doctor Doom. There was Baron Zemo. Like there was like a lot of people in these last few episodes. It's like, holy shit, dude! How big does it? Like Morph turned into Mr. Fantastic for a second in the final battle with Magneto.
Omega Red was in it.
Omega Red. I mean, I think they did show Psylocke. They showed the guys from like Alpha Flight, the fucking Canadian Avengers.
Yeah, Psylocke was hanging out with Alpha Flight for some reason, which I wasn't too sure on that, because I don't know if at that point within the comics Psylocke would be hanging out with Excalibur. But Excalibur, maybe not, because Excalibur needs to have Phoenix 2, which is one of the dumbest fucking things the X-Men ever came up with. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty to complain about.
Phoenix 2. What is that, like the daughter of like Jean Grey or something?
Yeah, because there can't be enough Blinking Summers children, and everything has to tie into them somehow, even though they're the worst part of the entire fucking series.
Agreed, dude. I'm trying to like Cyclops as best I can, but dude, he's just nothing can make him cool. He's just lame. He's fucking lame.
Yeah, like he would be nice if he questioned anything ever. Like I would love to have seen, like that's what would have been meant something a lot, is if Cyclops was like, do you know what? I'm with Magneto on this one.
Yeah,
like that would have been hardcore, because he's like, look, I've had too much going on. I've had my wife die, then it turns out she wasn't dead, and my other wife is back. I've lost my son, but now he's back and he's got a metal arm, and I don't know what's happening. I'm done. I'm sick of this. I'm wiping humans out.
I mean, like, I did like the little like confrontation he had with Charles when he came back, like when he was like going at Charles. Like, I was kind of like, okay, like Scott is Scott is massively pissed at Charles, someone who he saw as a father figure, and like, okay, he's like, at this point, he doesn't care that Charles is like back. He like, you know,
he's more pissed off. He's more like about Adam than he is happy that he's alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still think he's really unfair to Magneto. I think Magneto, for the time that he was in charge of the X-Men, kind of did a really good job.
Yeah.
Like he says, I'm going to do better this time, and he sticks to his guns. And he doesn't, like, you know, admittedly, he then gets sort of brought back from kind of almost being dead. Like, but he never turns. He's like, he trusts people. That's possibly why, you know, you could say the Genosha attack could happen. Is that he says, I'm taking this peaceful route. We're just gonna make this nation. We're gonna do it properly. We're gonna, you know, like get ourselves recognized by the UN and do all that stuff, and then we'll work it out. And then, you know, giant robot attacks, and oh no, he dies.
Yeah,
he dies.
So, all right. So, that is one question I wanted to ask. How did Magneto survive? Because he talks about how he saw a little boy. Like he talks about Leech. How I promised a little boy how like he would never be afraid again, and I had to watch as his eyes were vaporized in his skull, and I'm like, yeah, and you were sitting right next to him. How did you not vaporize too?
Bastion,
like okay, I guess, like, but that Bastion doesn't.
You got to give us more than that, PG.
Yeah, like
or Sinister,
because he's Bastion.
We we know like how. Like Bastion thinks 10 steps ahead, especially we've seen that with this series. Like he's planned this really methodically. Like he's been 10 steps ahead of everything. And like he has a contingency in case one thing goes wrong. He's got like 6 other contingencies that he can use just in case. I think that maybe like Bastion like somehow teleported Magneto out just as the beam hit him in reach. And like
I guess he could like a teleportation or something
like
Sinister.
Sinister. We've seen Sinister being able to like kind of teleport. I say like because he can bounce between like goes into like a shadowy form, don't he? So like maybe Sinister pulled him out, and like Bastion ordered Sinister to pull him out. We know Bastion definitely got him out of that because he's chained up in Bastion's sex dungeon.
Yeah, that was unnecessary.
That
for him to
was
be
weird.
In Speedo.
Yeah,
it's like, bro, like, first of all, good for Magneto for being almost 60, I guess,
and ripped as fuck.
And which, all right. Sorry to segue. We'll come back to this part in Bastion's sex dungeon. Let's put a pin in that for a second, because how old is fucking Magneto? Like he's in his 60s, roughly. If he was a young boy during the Holocaust, and this is the 90s.
Yeah, he's let's say like if he was like 10 when he was in a concentration camp, then you've got like 52 years or something. So he's got to be like mid-60s, something like that.
Okay, so if he's in his mid-60s, and Rogue...
Charles is slightly younger than...
I'm not talking about Charles.
I'm working out the ages. Like Charles is slightly younger than Magneto, I believe.
Okay, let's work out this age, though. Rogue is mid-30s, maymaybe?
20s.
Yeah.
Late 20s? That's even worse.
Late 20s to mid-30s.
Yeah, no, that's even fucking worse in my mind. I hate to segue into this, but I'm like, Magneto's a fucking like, dude, you dirty dog. Shame on you.
It's a cradle robber.
You're gonna have to be your daughter, bro.
He's a daddy.
And he's sitting there like during the final episode where Charles is in his mind, like, and it's all like water rushing in and shit. He's like, Rogue. I'm like, bro, you need to stop simping for this chick. Like, seriously, man. Find someone your own age. Like,
I mean, he obviously did. He obviously did find someone less his age, surely, because he's got Wanda, Pietro, and fucking Polaris.
I'm just saying.
And
Fucking
God knows
dirty
how many
old
other
man.
children he's fathered, because I'm pretty sure
Dirty
Magneto was a
old
bit
man.
of a, I'm pretty sure Magneto got around a bit.
I'm just saying, Peaky, it's dirty, and he is a pervert, and I will have none of it. And that should be not to be part of X-Men. Now back to Bastion's sex dungeon.
Who? The woman that's in his sex dungeon with him, is that the UN lady?
Yeah, that's the UN head.
I love it when she says Magneto's right.
You do.
Because I think she says it really well. It was like, there was one thought I had, which was the only like rational reaction to what I was seeing, was that Magneto was right. And it's kind of like, yeah. You know, like these people, like I think that's one of the things I like about Magneto, is that he's constantly saying, like, you keep thinking they're going to do better and they're not. You can't trust people like, oh, they'll suddenly like discover that they're wrong. Even like when Charles is on Shi'ar and he does the whole "let's have a lesson," and it's like, this is not gonna fix it. You're talking about like ingrained prejudices, like as much as I hate prejudiced people because I think it's stupid. Like, I'm aware that they don't learn the lesson, because if they don't learn the lesson from the ending of G.I. Joe, they're not going to learn the lesson just because you send them to the astral realm and make them raise their hand.
The ending of G.I. Joe. I just love the idea that the Shi'ar are sitting there watching their own version of G.I. Joe.
like, if they're anything like humans, I'm guessing they do. I guess they've got like people putting out these things like, like, hey kids, we got to be nice to each other.
My best friend's a Skrull. Hold on there, Johnny. Did you know that last year 3 million Kree were killed by Skrulls and were taken over their lives? It's like, now I know, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Kree.
Like it's like that bit where he says to like the Shi'ar, is like, your empire is just built on destroying other cultures that would have become empires to challenge you. I'm like, yeah, I know. The British have been told this, and we didn't stop us.
Yeah, no.
It makes worse like Charles is British himself, so like he knows this.
I'm not sure. Is he in this show? Because in this show, like, he's got that weird, I guess maybe it's sort of transatlantic, that accent that he has.
Magnus, for the love of God, Magnus. It's like, but he doesn't really have a British. Yeah, it's vaguely British, kind of.
Yeah, to me, my X-Men.
I think that was kind of the point of the 90s. So here's the thing: is that although the 90s does a lot of retcon, or this new one does a lot of retconning, so it makes Magneto it makes him a Holocaust survivor, which again in the 90s, original 90s cartoon, he wasn't necessarily. It just kind of kept it vague. The two of them are, again, like, what country he's actually from is left vague. What country or what nation of origin Charles is from is left vague. I think the only one they ever actually mention is Wolverine being Canadian and Remy being from the Bayou. But other than that, everyone else is kind of left more or less just.
Well, Rogue is Southern as well, isn't she?
Yeah, Southern. Yeah, Rogue is Southern, and then like obviously Storm is African. But beyond that, it's like, where's Scott from? Who the fuck cares? Oh yeah, where's Leech from? Nobody gives a shit.
The sewers. That's where Leech is from.
He's from the shit. That's where. Yeah, no, but that's my thing. Is I feel like that again, like that kept it kind of vague, and this new one is being like, nah, we've all pretty much accepted that Xavier is from the UK. Like, and then same thing with the helmet. Like in the original show, they make like Xavier makes him relive his parents' death, or like the the destruction of his village. Like, he's like, I didn't want to do this, Magnus, but he does that to him, and he's wearing his helmet when it happens. Versus this this series, he says that, like, I need to get his helmet off so I can do this thing. And when they get his helmet off, he puts the helmet on Charles's head so he can't do anything. I'm like, so that's again, it kind of retcons it. That makes it's like, oh, okay, yeah, obviously the helmet, it blocks out Charles's powers. That's
when a lot of people were speculating when they molded minds. Well, who's that massively OP mutant that's Charles and Magneto combined? He's like,
but I can't remember.
Yeah, he's like more powerful than an Omega mutant, from what I remember. No,
Onslaught.
that's it. Onslaught. People were going mad about. Oh my god, we're gonna get Onslaught. I was like, are we? Like, I don't
Why
really
did they say that? Did they
see
think
it.
that the two of them were gonna merge or something?
Well, they do. That's like when they molded Minds. People were going,
Oh,
like,
Oh well,
they're
no.
gonna fully mold, and they're gonna,
See, what I think is crazy, and something we have not mentioned in the 45 minutes we've been talking, is what happens during that episode of them, like during the 3-part episode of the Tolerance is Extinction. I think it's part 2. Fucking Wolverine, he's just like, you know what? Fuck this, I'm done. Shink, and just stabs fucking Magneto in the back,
where like
and
so.
Magneto tears the fucking adamantium from his bones.
Yeah.
Mate, when I literally like I was sat here when obviously like watching that, and like when you saw the claws come through like Magneto, I was like, "Fuck, Logan! What the?" I was literally like, "What?"
We're not on Fox Kids anymore.
I was like, "Oh, right." They're full on getting Wolverine kill Magneto. Right, I get. Okay, yeah,
Well,
sure.
Kill Magneto. I mean, I feel like Magneto should have like at the very least been a weaker because he had a like where he stabbed him. I feel like that's a collapsed lung easily.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
definitely is. Like it's the things that people are allowed to survive is a bit much.
But
There's a weird line in that as well, where Scott says to Wolverine while he's like passed out, he says, "Was it don't you dare break her heart? Do what you do best and heal." And I was sort of like, whose heart are you referring to? We talk about Jean.
I think he's talking about Jean. I get the feel. I feel like it's one of those things that he knows that Wolverine loves her, but and in a way he knows that like she kind of cares for, like, not loves, but like, you know, in the way you would love a family member, like she does. True, but that was like she was vulnerable, and he was fucking her clone or mind fuck. I don't know, whatever the hell they were doing in the astral plane. he was like mind cheating on her. So there was a whole thing. She was just trying to get back at him. But anyway, at any rate, the point is that I'm like, yeah. So I think that's what they were doing, is talking about Jean. Who knows, dude? Maybe Scott's down with that cuck life.
maybe they're a throuple.
Exactly. Maybe he just like sometimes Scott just likes to sit in the corner and watch.
But like,
or they take turns.
Knowing what we could potentially get season 2 with Logan, I'm fucking pumped. Because the last time Wolverine's adamantium got ripped from his skeleton, he turned into feral Wolverine, which like his healing factor was like 10 times what it is now. Because the adamantium is what is like, obviously like it poisons his healing factor. So like he's constantly healing against that. Whereas obviously with feral Wolverine, he's got his bone claws. He's pretty much like nothing can really get through to him. Like once he's like berserk mode type thing. Like once he goes into that fit of rage and goes into berserk mode, he's pretty much unstoppable. Like in the comics as well. I was reading up on feral Wolverine. In the comics, Wolverine's like been stabbed, shot, and like his healing factor is literally just instantaneous. Like he instantly heals, like it's nothing, and it's like, oh, that doesn't even slow him down. Like,
I like the idea that the only thing that kept him from becoming like Sabretooth this whole time was the adamantium in his bones.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, there was that. Let me see. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I thought that was going to go a little bit longer. Never mind. But yeah, that was some crazy shit. I think that's where I'm like, Magneto may be right in some regards, but I'm like, you can't justify to me doing some crazy shit like that.
Yeah,
pulling the adamantium off.
Yeah, and the fact that he's like, Logan, finally this feud, and like you were waiting for him to give you an excuse. Like you wanted him.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of the things that makes me like Magneto even more. Like, as he has these bits of like, I was good to you. Don't you forget that I could have done this from day one and I didn't. Like, I love that he's like that.
And it's great that Charles knows it. He's like, Magnus, don't do it. He's like, he knows exactly what he's gonna do. He's like, fuck. He's like, I knew you could do this too. Don't do it.
I think that's one of my things about it is like, and it does maybe, as much as I don't like have a problem with Charles like getting Magneto to run the X-Men, I kind of think that was sort of clever to try and change Magneto's perspective, maybe. But like, I think like it shows to me like actually Charles kind of has let people down a lot.
Yeah.
By doing like he knows that Magneto could be worse than he is. And like, you know, like if he knows that he could be worse than he is, and that he could do these world-destroying things just by doing them, he could do them whenever he wanted to. He probably should have worked better to like respect Magneto's point of view and be like, do you know what? Because like when I come down to things like these, like in the real world, like the way I try and think of it is, I'm like, everyone's a little bit right. There's some truth to what this person is saying. It's not the whole truth. But you know, like if you get an argument on both sides, they're both a bit true, and you've got to respect which side is which and try and come somewhere in the middle. And Charles doesn't really do that with Magneto. He's constantly, no, we have to do this. We have to be respectable. We have to get the humans to like us and to do this. And Magneto is much more like, no, man, we shouldn't. I don't agree with him saying things like they're genetically inferior than us. Because I'm like, no. And you know that's literally Nazism, my guy. Like that's the whole thing that you're against. Don't be doing that. But yeah, like Charles is just kind of could have done more. Like really could have done more.
Yeah, I agree, and you're absolutely right. But that's kind of like the whole point of Magneto. There is that you're right. He's a hypocrite, but like it's he doesn't want to see it happen to his race, so that's what he's doing. He's like, I'm going to preemptively extinct you guys. Which you're right, it's Nazism, but he's like, fuck this. I'm gonna sink to your level and I'm gonna take you down using your own methods.
He's seen one mass culling of a race before. He doesn't. He like one part of his race is already like, you know, Holocaust and everything. He's seen that. He's seen the potential of what's going to happen to the mutant kind, and he's like, "There's one way I can stop this, and it's to wipe them out."
That's by being a hungry hypocrite.
But I do agree with you, Harrison. There is some right way of doing what Magnus is doing, but he is kind of going the wrong way about it. Like there is something that he can do there that's potentially better than wiping out the human race.
Yeah, like to be honest, if I was him, I think like I might do the whole I can turn all electricity off in the world thing as like a now you'll fucking listen to me.
Yeah. Like this is worst case scenario. I can turn off the electricity, wipe out the magnetic field, so the world literally destroys itself. You will if we can't live together, no one can live type situation.
Like again, he's gonna kill all the other mutants that are still on the planet.
Yeah, maybe not kill, but like I don't know, use it because I think he could use it to do things like I can disable stuff. You know, like he'd be like, I'm going to turn up in the United States, and I'm just going to like mess with your power grid so much that nationally you don't have power, and I'm going to ruin a huge amount of things. Turn it to Wall Street and just be like, guess what? Every single hard drive, every single router, nothing works anymore, and just be like, now it's difficult to ignore me. Like now it's going to cost you money, and you can't just be like, "Oh, we don't like mutants." You have to listen to me.
Although that does like how many hundreds of people ended up dying, not even after planes, trains, cars, all that shit that would crash and would either kill or seriously hurt people. But then after the fact, how pissed off would humans be? And like because it shows that Jubilee and Roberto get attacked by just like mobs of angry people who are like blaming them for the power going off. So I'm like, there's probably a good number of mutants that got the shit kicked out of them.
You also saw it in like the last episode where there's rioting on the streets, and you've got like Daredevil that's like trying to kind of like uphold some kind of peace. Like he's not even a mutant. Yeah, Cloak and Dagger. Like they're not even mutants. Like, and they're there trying to uphold some kind of peace.
Matt Murdock would probably represent you if you were on like trial for false accusations of being a mutant. It's like, oh, this mutant stole from my store, you know, some shit like that. Like he would probably represent you. Come on, like but
I did like that. And I did like that those little shots that we saw also kind of pointed out that the Prime Sentinels weren't just, it's not just mutants they're coming after. Because they were attacking Cloak and Dagger and they were attacking Daredevil and stuff in that as well when they came back online. So it is like, because I think that's one of the things that I thought was interesting about that whole deal, like where Bastion's there, because Bastion's not talking about saving the human race. He's talking about replacing the human race, but with something that isn't mutants, which is like that's they won't like you either.
They're not human.
So,
they're not mutants either.
I don't know. So yeah, and then all right. Let's talk about this for a minute. The Bastion's whole plan and why it doesn't really make sense, like to me anyway, because like it makes it seem like they're not aware that, like he does say that when they come in, like, you know, some guy, you know, he logs on to a dial-up chat room and talks with other people. I'm like, oh, you mean like 2023? Like that's what I was going to talk about. Is like he kind of brings like a real world fucking, like the pissed off MAGA dudes are all like signing up and talking in a chat room, being like, you know what, this is fucked up. Let's go fucking get together and so what they ends up doing is he recruits those guys, gets them to come to his facility, makes them into the Sentinels, and then wipes their memory so they don't remember it until they're activated. And then do they remember then? Because Trask kind of like, he's like, do you remember what my, you know, inferior self said to you? And then Tribley says, like the reporter chick says the exact same thing. It's like, would they know who they are? Well, no, not until they activate. And then she activates it and then starts talking about how, like, so I'm curious, is that, do they know that they're Sentinels after they become Sentinels?
I think they kind of like because he kind of, like you say, he kind of like puts like a bit of, it's not even like replacing them, like kind of like wiping their memory. It's more like kind of like a memory block type situation, if you think about it really, because they're not going to remember their past self and like what happened before they like went into the vat until they're activated, when the memory block is kind of like unhinged, unlocked.
It's like, oh yeah, I turned myself into a monster because of my racism. Which I guess maybe that's what they're going for there, is that racism is like a monster. Maybe they're trying to be like, racists are bad people. Look at this.
Yeah, some of the things where, with the sheer number of them that have been turned into Prime Sentinels, and some of the people they show being Prime Sentinels, like, I'm not saying that, like, you know, like regular like white collar people can't be racists, but like some of them, it's like, I don't think this person would have done that. So it seems like there was some other way that he was turning people into Prime Sentinels as well.
Yeah,
like something else. Just like there's that bit where it's that family and the parents turn into Sentinels, and I was like, what happened to them? And I'm wondering whether it's just things, you know, like, I don't know, they got told that they were going to get vouchers to a spa or something if they filled in someone's online survey, and they just turn up. Like,
I see. Yeah, I took that as like it was. See, this is maybe just me like being tinfoil hat about it, but I'm like, it was kind of making a message like, it could be anyone. It could be your parents, it could be your friends, it could be your family. They could all be they could all be racist, or some shit like. But yeah, it's basically what that was. Is that I guess like, you know, those two parents, like the butler, fucking Roberto's butler, fucking had it happen to him, which I took as like, oh man, he must have really not liked Roberto.
Yeah. I definitely have to say I did like that whole little plot with Roberto. I thought that was quite nice.
His mom letting them take him away. It's like, damn.
Yeah, then the whole thing of like, you know, don't tell anyone about this. The shareholders won't like it. I thought that was a nice sort of way of spinning it. Of like, you know, even rich nepo babies like can end up being like prisoners of this thing. So it was good.
Yeah,
I did like I did like the whole like Roberto's character in total, because like at first when he was introduced in episode 1, he was that rich pompous, you know, like he didn't want to be a mutant. He didn't want to like acknowledge that he was a mutant or anything like that. And then like down the line, like obviously becoming friends with Jubilee and obviously boning her on her 18th probably helped as well. Like so like
they played a computer game, Peaky. It was perfectly innocent. They went to the arcade.
No, and then the screen went into that little circle, and then you saw sparks flying everywhere. What do you think those sparks were?
They were Jubilee making candles for her birthday.
Apart from the whole like him joining Magneto's side, he came full circle of like owning up to like him being a mutant and being like being part of not just this team of the X-Men, but kind of being a family that accepts him.
Yeah.
I did not like how quickly they were happy with after they beat Magneto, or like he takes he convinces Magneto to relax and everything, and Magneto reverses everything, and they just forgive him. And same thing for Rogue, and same thing for Roberto. They just like Roberto even says, he's like, well, if we're gonna die, I want to say, like basically it's like I love you kind of shit to the Jubilee, and it's like, bro, first of all, not the time. Second of all, go fuck yourself.
But I
you were ready to genocide the entire planet because mommy fucking sold you down the river.
Let's be honest. The X-Men aren't perfect themselves. They've all crossed that line at some point. So like, I feel like they can
so I don't care when he does that.
I can kind of see like, okay, like we've made mistakes. This was obviously like your turning point, your mistake. Like it's kind of like we've all been there. It's a learning curve of becoming an X-Men type thing.
Fair enough.
That's the like kind of like the way I've seen it. Because let's be honest, the X-Men aren't perfect.
Like fair enough. I get that. I'm just saying though, like they get to do quite a bit of stuff. Like they get a lot of leeway, is all I'm saying, to just do whatever the fuck.
They do, and it sort of brings back to that like tolerance of intolerance. Like,
yeah,
they very much have that turn the other cheek attitude all the time of like, you've always got to forgive, you've always got to do this. But I think that's the issue, is like sometimes they do that like Mormon like family. I think there's literally like a Mormon family like this on TV that did it, of like they go, well, we have to forgive. And it's like, yeah, you forgave him, but you didn't instill it, you didn't punish him or do something to say, hey, stop diddling your sister. Like you just let that carry on. You didn't deal with that. You can't just say, oh well, it's in God's hands and we forgive him because God tells us to forgive. No, you have to deal with that. And they don't do that enough. Like, I mean, whether Magneto will have felt like that was dealt with enough by having his mind almost destroyed by Charles could be interesting.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting thing as well. So let's talk about that as well. Like they have at the very end there, because so this is funny. They have the Magneto protocol. Oh wait,
before you get
we won't talk about that. Let's talk about how it gets to that.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's talk about like that fight scene with Bastion.
Well, there's two fight scenes. There's the one with Bastion, and then there's the one on. Well, I guess it's not really. That's the episode before that, because then Magneto just kind of chills. But yeah, you're right. Fine, the fight with Bastion. Go ahead, Peaky. Go ahead, tell us about it.
Like that whole like fight scene was just like Jubilee's like sun visor like being cracked and like slightly broken, and like you see the look in her eyes as she's like throwing all of these like sparks and like everything. Like she's like doing like she's full on going at Bastion. Like you kind of see like, okay, like Jubilee can't just make these like fireworky sparks. She packs a punch with them as well, because she's knocking Bastion back a bit.
I mean, all right. So they also, that's right. I completely forgot about that. They also have Phoenix. She also have Jean Grey comes back as the Phoenix again.
Like,
again.
Like, very, very like she literally says that like after like she comes out and like the Phoenix, she's like, that was the last of the Phoenix Force in me, like kind of.
Yeah,
like,
until it's inconvenient. Like
I kind of I kind of felt a bit cheated on that, because like seeing her come out like after Cable just eviscerated her, like it kind of undone what Cable went through at that point, because like I think Cable started to kind of respect Jean up until that point. Obviously, I knew he couldn't help it because Sinister was controlling him, but like he could still kind of feel what was happening. He could see what was happening, and you saw tears in his eyes as like Jean is like slowly losing that like little battle, and the emotion behind it as well. It's like, okay, like Cable actually was respecting Jean. It was kind of like, okay, it wasn't just Madeline is my mother. Like Jean is actually also technically my mum as well. Like I think that started to kind of like, I think it
That
was
line
starting
dumb.
to connect.
That whole line where she's like, I feel like I remember I have her because of our kinetic link or our telekinetic link. I have her fucking memories. I feel him kicking in my stomach. I remember him doing this. I'm like, bullshit, you two.
But like, I feel like Cable was starting to the cogs were starting to turn in Cable's head of they are basically the same person. Like they are technically both my mum.
Yeah, and they show the same amount of like care for him because like she does that thing of like, Nathan, buckle up. It was like, stop telling me what to do.
You know my mom. You know my dad.
I thought that was funny. He's like, stop telling me what to do. You're not my mom. It's like fucking Cable. So
it's
there was
Cable
one more.
now, Mom.
It's like, stop calling me Nathan. Call me by my goth name, Cable.
It's not a phase. It's a cyborg virus.
Pretty much. That's how I feel about that. He's going through his like scene phase. His robo scene phase. But so they do. I think. Oh yeah. Let's talk before we get to the final part. We'll talk about how they got there. Is that when the Bastion like powers on all of his like the hit or so I guess he uses his powers like his techno kinetic powers whatever to turn on the whatever sentinels that are in range, and he starts attacking multiple people. Like you said, he starts attacking Daredevil, Cloak and Dagger. He goes after Wakanda, which I thought was cool that they added King T'Chaka in there. And the Dora Milaje, which I'm like, fuck yeah. We get to have fucking, which means well, maybe somewhere down the line they'll do an anime. Maybe, well, I was gonna say maybe they'll have Chadwick Boseman, but he's dead. They'll have an AI Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I guess who is? Wait, so T'Chaka. So is that T'Challa's dad?
That's T'Challa's dad. Yes.
Okay, right.
Because it's the 90s, and so it's like obviously he would still be the king at this point.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. So that was cool. I thought that like, and Bastion even mentions like we have to go after the people who would be. We can't just go after the mutants. We have to go after the ones who would help the mutants. So basically, the Avengers, the government, the fucking anyone
who should have done something but didn't.
Yeah, people who should have been like speaking up beforehand.
Spider-Man. When was it the UN guy says to Scott like, "Oh, we can't send anyone else to help you." It's like there's a lot of superheroes who could be here. There's quite a lot of superheroes who could just be pulling people out of rubble or something.
Send Stephen Strange over. Like Christ,
he's busy doing weird fucking sorcery surgery.
Yeah, he's a surgeon again in this. Like, all right, fine. Like, but this Stephen Strange is different to the other Stephen Strange because our Stephen Strange wasn't a sorcerer by this point. In fact, I'm not even sure he would be old enough to still be doing that at this point, like in '97. So it's a different guy. Like Iron Man, Tony Stark, billionaire. Like could turn up with machines, could be clearing rubble, like left, right, and center. None of it.
Yeah, could be helping out, and he's even in this episode or in that last episode. He's in the fucking. He's hanging out with President Kelly and Captain America. I'm like, dude, the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, where's? Also, it was fun fact when they go to Bastion's house. I think it's in the first part one of the Tolerances Extinction. There is a poster like in his room that says Stark Expo.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's a cool little like nod to that. I'm like, oh, that thing was here too. So I enjoy that. But I'm like, yeah, no, that still though. Tony Stark, the fuck, man. Like Wakanda. If people know that Wakanda, like the Black Panther exists and shit like that, where the hell are you guys? Like, why aren't you offering some of your goddamn vibranium or whatever to help out? It's like,
yeah.
No, instead we got to rely on Roberto's shitty mom.
Wakanda could be like, we're going to open our doors to like the mutant refugees from Genosha, because that comes up about there like loads of countries turning away refugees. It's like, Wakanda could be like, hey, come over here.
It's like we like you. And I mean, like, I feel like if anyone could take on mutants, like Wakandans probably, because like vibranium kind of gives them a leg up on normal people.
Yeah, we got this heart-shaped flower that turns people superhuman. So yeah, we're down with this.
Straight up, I'm like, which all right. That brings me to another thing. Actually, is that what the fuck is like if we have all of these people, if we have Doctor Strange, who's a sorcerer, we got Captain America, who was a little scrawny little kid and then took a steroid and became a giant monster like freak. Like we have fucking like the Hulk. The only one who's really normal would be Iron Man, and so I'm like, as far as everyone else, I'm like, how are you accepting of Doctor Strange, but you can't accept Magneto?
Yeah.
Like, how you gonna tell me that Spider-Man is okay, but you're not gonna be okay with fucking like Nightcrawler?
What, like the Cloak and Dagger? Like, how are you okay with like Cloak and Dagger being able to like teleport in and out of places like that? And you know,
like Daredevil's just handy capable, but yeah, how you gonna tell me that Cloak and Dagger are different from like Blink or Psylocke?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, and so that's my thing. Is that like you guys, y'all are ridiculous with like this world of like, oh yeah, no, mutants aren't okay, but that guy over there who's fucking swinging from a web, totally cool.
I suppose, well, at least Spider-Man, there are plenty of people who hate Spider-Man and they aren't cool with him, I suppose. So, you know.
But that's just yellow journalism from J. Jonah Jameson. No, but you have a point there. There are people who are afraid of him, but I mean, I feel like most people, at least in the Spider-Man universe, they never mistake him for like a monster or like or a mutant. They're always like, oh yeah, no, you got bitten by a radioactive spider. Chill. It's like
I do agree with you on that. It's something I said that the X-Men, I think, is a wonderful, really wonderful like world. It doesn't fit that well into an expanded universe of other superheroes because of that reason. Of like it makes a lot less sense. And you know, like although you know, in the comic of Civil War, it's quite nice that mutants are kind of like really integral to why Civil War happens, because it was a bunch of mutants that caused an explosion that killed a family, and they're like, hey, we should probably do something about this to try and
the
control
Mutant
it.
Registration Act or the Superhuman. I think it was the Superhuman Registration Act at that point.
Superhuman Registration Act.
Yeah, because it was. I can never remember their name. What is the name of them? They're not the New Mutants, and they're not X-Force. Who are the guys with the camera crew? Sorry, I will look that up while you guys continue to talk.
So yeah, but like, well, we get this. I think this is stupid that because they're like, well, we can't stop Magneto, so we need to launch nukes at asteroid. Like Magneto's going to launch asteroid M at our planet, or Bastion will, or what? Someone's going to launch a meteor at our planet, so we need to launch nukes at the meteor. So they do that, and in doing so, they knock out the generator that's keeping the fucking thing up, and in turn cause the fucking meteor to start plummeting to Earth. I'm like, what the actual shit, man? It's like it's just such a stupid like it feels like an unnecessary thing that they're just like, oh yeah, we're the government, let's use nukes because that's what we do because we're the government and this is a 90s cartoon.
I mean, it's also like that whole like fight scene with Bastion during that part. I thought especially Rogue coming in swinging, saying his name was Gambit. Remember that. And like full on breaks Bastion's jaw off. Like it becomes unhinged.
She was wearing Remy's jacket in the previous episode, which I thought was kind of a cool. That was a cool little like touch to that. Like, but like, so no, go ahead.
Oh, but like that whole guy, I really love that. Like, especially with was it that episode with Morph turning into the Hulk? Or was that work while they were like on the
No, that was the ground team fighting Bastion.
No, that was the ground team. That was cool. That was really cool. It's like more really cool. Smash. I was like, okay. And then Jean like sending him everywhere to like tear apart the Sentinels.
So I don't know. Did you guys? I find it weird that they had to bring this up and that people had to be like, again, some people lost their shit. Some people were like, "Oh, Morph!" Yeah. But you caught that part.
I think
where Morph turns into Jean and says, "Well, she's not here to say it, so I'll say it. I love you, Logan." And it's like apparently, the creator's like, "Yeah, no, that was Morph coming out to Logan, saying that he wants Logan or that they want Logan's." You know what I'm saying. And I'm like, cool.
I don't like, okay, like if that's how the writers want to do it, okay, fair enough. But I think that was maybe more kind of giving Logan something to fight for, because let's be honest, Logan's on his deathbed at that point. Like he is struggling to heal. So like I think that maybe like Morph was trying to do that to kind of give Logan something.
Yeah, that's how I took it too. But I'm just saying, apparently everyone lost their shit when they're like, "See, Morph is polyamorous" or whatever the fuck.
Maybe like if Morph if they want to go down that route of Morph being in love with Logan, go for it. I don't give a shit. But like, I don't care. I don't care
those hard to reach places.
I don't care who's banging who in the X-Men universe. Just as long as I get to see some cool fight scenes and I get to see Wolverine bring out his bone claws.
Fair
and
enough.
Bones Morph.
And Bones Morph. As Jean Grey. He goes full on Homelander.
Oh.
Makes Morph make breast milk so he can drink it. Yeah, I did that. Anyone who's seen The Boys, if you know, you know.
But like, yeah, no, like I kind of like even though like what Bastion was doing was wrong, and like they Scott still tried to save him. It's like it kind of goes with what Harrison was saying, like that intolerance is tolerant type situation. With like, okay, like Bastion, you've done some bad shit here, but like we can save you, type thing. Like but
they still tried to recruit him even at the end. They're like, "There's another way. Join the X-Men. Put on yellow spandex." Which I like that line too. That the fucking what were you expecting? Black leather? Like,
I did like the costume change. I did like the costume changes to like when it like the uncanny X-Men uniforms.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah,
and they went to Ireland went to fucking Ireland, and I like the little like I don't know the Celtic X-Men theme that they had at the beginning there, where they show that was Muir Island. I want to say.
Do you know what? I'd say I wasn't a huge fan of like the different X-Men themes they did because like in that fight with Bastion, I think they have that like big orchestral version where it's like violins doing da 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 da, and I was like, no, stop this now. It's cheap.
Just give me the rock one. Just give me the fucking electric guitar. I don't want no trombones and trumpets.
What did you think of the scene where like Cable's in the diner, like just after having his arm ripped off, and Jean projects her and Scott across the table from him, and they kind of have like a bit of a heart-to-heart. What did you think of that? I can already guess Harrison's response to that.
That says it all right there.
Yeah. I don't think Harrison cared for that part.
I thought that was them trying to be, heartfelt and trying to make it a thing. Like, we're gonna die, Nathan, but we love you, mommy and daddy. I'm like, they already did that already when Madeline was like, there was times when you'll think that we abandon you, and there's times when blah, blah, blah. Like when she was doing this whole psychic thing with the baby. I'm like, we already had that. We don't need it again.
I thought the thing that Cable said about like how when he grew up listening to Legends of the X-Men, he was angry because he should have been part of those legends. I thought that was kind of clever. I was like, okay, I'm interested in that. Like looking at his perspective.
Okay, if it wasn't for Sinister, like putting that technovirus into him, like Cable would have been on the team. He would have been a part of the X-Men legend. And okay, I did like that little comment, but like. That whole like projection, I was kind of like, really, you're doing this? You're meant to be, saving the world from a giant meteor, and you're here like, having a psychic chat with your son.
Have you ever seen his eyes? Like, no, Mom, this is creepy.
No, like no one's seen Scott's eyes. This is the whole point of his visor.
And she uses the Phoenix Force or whatever fucking her power to hold back his. I'm like, God damn it! Don't.
Why?
It was unnecessary.
I'm sorry. But like he's blue, you're projecting him as blue. You can't see the color of his eyes.
It's stupid. The whole thing is kind of dumb. But I mean, whatever. Again, they were trying to be heartfelt because they're setting up season 2, and Cable's going to be on the new X-Men team, and I'm pretty sure Shadowcat too, and Iceman. Because like we talked about it a little bit earlier about how there's the wall of just all the different mutants and where they are. So now let's go ahead with the last 10 minutes of the episode. Let's get into this. The end credits scene. Well, not the end credits scene. The final scene where Magneto, Rogue, Nightcrawler, I think, and Charles
Beast
and Beast. No, that was not Nightcrawler. Beast.
Yeah, because Beast is carrying Charles.
Yeah, they all go to ancient Egypt. I think it was a Nightcrawler. I forget who else.
Nightcrawler was in ancient Egypt because he helps Rogue fighting those guys who are all around them.
Okay, but then there's someone they're another team of them. Oh no, okay, it's Jean and Scott. They go to the future.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. They meet Nathan.
And Storm, Morph, and Wolverine are nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, they're just in the wind. So that's where I believe we're gonna get. It turns out that the Wolverine from the fucking Deadpool movie is this Wolverine. No, it's not.
No, I think maybe.
But like they're gonna find a way to be like, oh yeah, no, these three got teleported to another universe, and now we're gonna make a whole new movie, and boom, MCU.
No, I think I kind of have a theory about that. Is obviously this is like looking at what those post credit scenes, like the end credit scenes were. Season 2 is going to be heavily Apocalypse themed.
Oh yeah,
because we had Apocalypse picking up Gambit's burnt card in Genosha. We had in Ancient Egypt, that was Apocalypse before he became Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And obviously with Jean and Scott, they're in the future. That's what happens when Apocalypse burns the world.
They're in the age of Apocalypse, yes.
Yeah. So I think potentially Apocalypse is going to bring Gambit back as one of the Horsemen.
Yeah. End credit scene, yeah.
And I think he's done the same with Wolverine, Morph, and Storm. Maybe that's why we didn't see where they got teleported to.
That's an interesting thought, and I like that.
Potentially I could see Morph or Storm being Pestilence. Wolverine's death and Gambit's war, potentially.
Yeah, I could see that.
And maybe that's how, like, because that happens in the comics, is that's how Wolverine gets his adamantine skeleton back, is that Apocalypse puts it back inside him.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
So maybe that's why we didn't get to see where those three got teleported to. But I've been hyped
go ahead.
to see more. I'm hyped to see more of Apocalypse because I love Apocalypse as a villain. Like, because it doesn't usually just take the X-Men to defeat Apocalypse. It takes a big team up usually to fully fight fully powered Apocalypse.
Didn't they already do the Apocalypse thing though in the 90s? Like they already did Apocalypse and they already had that stuff. I'm like, it kind of feels like they're just rehashing old stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they did all of Apocalypse. Like,
no, I don't think they did.
He was in the show, like, so they have him turning Angel into Archangel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think they do the whole, because there's loads of Apocalypse. Like you said, but as soon as I saw they're in Egypt, I was like, oh shit, we're doing Apocalypse, because I know that like he's rumored to be the first ever mutant, and like he was born then, he's sort of lived ever since. And when they were doing the future stuff, they tended to focus on like Nimrod and more like Sentinel based things rather than the Age of Apocalypse, which, if I remember, the comics came about when that guy assassinated Charles Xavier, and then the Apocalypse happens, and there's somebody else. He had stupid hair in the comics, it's a whole thing. So I think we might be getting some different stuff, because I really like Age of Apocalypse stuff. There's some really cool.
That's the thing. Apocalypse has come and gone so many times in the comics. Like, there's been so many different Apocalypse storylines in the comics that they can then obviously now potentially kind of do for the animated show. I'm all hit. I'm for it. I really am for it.
It's going to be interesting to see where they go with season 2. And we've said it before on this that we want it, or at least I want it to be longer next time around. Like 16 episodes. Give us that. Yeah. If you can do 16 fucking episodes of Bad Batch, you can give me 16 episodes of goddamn X-Men.
Like, I don't want too many episodes where it becomes a bit of a chore to continuously try to watch. But I think maybe 60, like, so they're doing like 20 to 24 episodes. I feel like that'd be too long of a season.
All right, fair enough.
I think potentially 16, like you said, 16 would be a good number, because especially like the multiple parts, like you could do other storylines if you done 16 episodes to start off with. Like, all right, that would have extended the season for us. Plus, those other parts that you've done, we could see other storylines in between each part, like they've done with the Storm first part. We had a couple of episodes before we had part 2.
Mhm.
But at least we know that's what why Storm isn't in the next couple of episodes, is because she's off kind of finding herself. They could do that with season 2. I feel
Agreed.
like, and plus, I think it would give more episodes. I think it would give more characters more screen time, and we'd be able to get to see. Obviously, like we haven't seen so many characters already in season 1 are potentially going to be in season 2, like the board that Forge has. I feel like if we're going to see those characters again, we need more episodes to be able to touch back on those characters, see what they've been up to since we last saw them in the original series.
Agreed. So yeah, at the very least, 12. No more than 16, no less than 12. That is my recommendation to Disney. And apparently already it's in the animatics stage. I don't know what that is, but I'm not an animations guy.
Season 3 is in pre-production.
Yeah, so there you go.
They're already penning season 3. They're already writing ideas down on what they're going to do with season 3.
So there you go. So, all right, I think we're reaching pretty much the end of this. So I'll go to Harrison for the final thoughts. What are your final thoughts about this show? Like, banger, not banger, what?
Oh yeah, like in terms of reviving an old show, it's class. But like I think they've done exactly what they need to do with this, where they've taken a show that is really beloved amongst the audience that were children when it was out. They have appropriately scaled it up to make it more appropriate for not only just like an audience of today, but also an older audience. So we have a little bit more violence. Not not super. It's not Invincible. It's nothing like that, but a little bit more adult themes. Suggestions of sex, and we're able to deal with slightly heavier topics and be a bit more complex than you could necessarily in the 90s. And because they're not doing like a 26 episode season or anything like that, you don't get like kind of filler episodes that are just like, oh, and we'll just go quickly do this one arc that happened in the comics 30 years ago. Absolute success. I look forward to there being more. I think like if you're someone who has had trouble with some of the things they've changed, like designs they've changed, I think like really do your best to look past them. Just go in and just enjoy it for like the story and the quality of it, because it'll impress you, I reckon.
I absolutely agree. How about you, Pete?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with. I've got pretty much everything Harrison has just said there. But I think I also got the comment about people not being able to get used to like the new designs. I feel like you kind of need to kind of get over it a little bit. Like they've had to do that to kind of like adjust to like the animation style and how a lot of like cartoons work nowadays to what they did in the 90s. Whereas like the CGI and the artwork and the drawing style, that's all changed and it's evolved so much since that original show was done. So like I feel like they've done the way the designs are is to kind of try and make it feel like it's the original 90s, but using the technology that we have now that they didn't have back then. I feel like if the original 90s X-Men wasn't done in the 90s and it was done now, this is how it would look anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they've done a brilliant job of like keeping the nostalgia there, but they've also had to evolve it slightly to keep up with how technology works now and how it's constantly evolving. It's not just like a year by year; it's daily. The way the kind of production into animation goes in, it's a daily evolution. Like things are changing constantly with how stuff is done. So like they have to constantly keep up to date with how that's done. So like again, yeah, kind of try get past it, get over it, enjoy the storytelling, enjoy that thank the Lords that we've got a continuation of the 90s. They didn't have to do it. Like they could have just not brought back Marvel animations and just kept it with like What If and the Marvel Zombies that we're going to be getting and like do that, but we don't have to get all of these nostalgic things that we grew up watching as a kid back. They could just do new ideas. They could have done a completely new X-Men series.
Yeah, and
Let's
they
be
chose to
honest,
do this.
They choose because they didn't just choose it for us. They choose it for them because they're fans as well. Like,
Exactly, they were probably kids too at the time.
Exactly. So like, this isn't just nostalgia for us; it's nostalgia for them. So like, yeah, I think that's my point. That's me done.
So yeah, that's what I'm going to agree. I'm going to absolutely agree as well. I think that basically copy, paste, repeat of what these two just said. Great show, great animation, great just all around. Just it's done with love, and it's done by people who actually like understand and truly care about the source material. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it, or take to the high seas, do what you got to do to get there. Forget a Disney Plus, do whatever the fuck. Just watch the damn show. Because it's worth it, and ideally pay for it because it's worth the time and the effort and the money that it took to make it.
If need be, subscribe to Disney Plus just to watch this, and then cancel your subscription, because then at least you're giving them money to be able to continuously make projects like this, and to, like we said before, bring back previous 90s shows like Spider-Man. That's what that money for Disney Plus goes towards. So like,
no, it's
if
not.
You want
it goes to the fuck. No, I'm kidding.
if you want to see more of X-Men and more Spider-Man, just pay for it.
All right, and on that note, pay for it. But you should pay for our channel. No, I'm kidding. That's going to be the end of our show. So thank you guys all for watching. Thank you. I know there was a few of you in here, but you didn't really comment. Thank you to Tim for commenting, our buddy over there at Tim's Talk. Go subscribe to him because he's a cool dude. And speaking of subscribing, make sure you like and subscribe to this video and to our channel for future videos and future content. And subscribe to this bunghole. What do you got? What do you got, Piki? What do you got to talk about?
So Wednesday I put out another Pokemon video. So we're continuing our Johto journey, where we've done our first gym battle, I believe. And also Thursday I did a bit of an channel update of what changes have happened to the channel, because we've gone through a lot of changes over just the start of the year, leading into the halfway point now. I've changed a lot of stuff. I've changed how I'm doing projects. I've changed the type of projects I do now, and I did do kind of like a bit of a clickbaity opening. I did that on purpose. And Friday was another stick fight video. Again, I'm loving playing stick fight with the Game Night crew. Minecraft project is still coming. I'm still editing a 3-hour long video into a 40-minute video. So I've got 3 hours worth of footage to try and still edit down. It's taken me a while. I'm sorry, but I do have a life outside of YouTube. I have work and stuff like that.
Don't
So I have to work around some sort of life. But it is where this is the first time I've ever edited 3 different people's perspectives into one video. So it's a learning curve. But I'm hoping it will be done by next week.
All right. Well, until that time, your content has been fun to watch. So, and especially because I've been on it. But yeah, go subscribe to Peaky Arrow Productions, and good stuff. And Harrison, anything you want to tell us about? You've been doing that Resident Evil audiobook.
Yeah, check it out, the Resident Evil audiobook. So I'm filling the gap. So I currently had the second book and the second and third book of the book series up there. Didn't have the first. I'm correcting that now. So the first is being filled out as we speak. Keep an eye out. I expect that there might be a new video for that released sometime next week. Just keep on the lookout for the channel. And hey, if you haven't explored the back catalogue of what we have, our audio comics and our audio books, go ahead, check out our playlists and see what's in there. You might find some gems.
Vegas.
What the man said. Go do that. And while you're doing that, make sure you hit that bell notification so you watch all of our other podcast episodes. We talk about all this stuff. Sadly, you know what's sad? We didn't talk about Fallout, which absolutely deserves love as well. But maybe some other day, maybe in the future. But but we talk about everything Marvel, everything Star Wars. We will be doing the Acolyte next month when it comes out, and that is quickly approaching in like 2 weeks. So
next week, isn't it? I thought it was next week.
June 8th, 11th. I don't know. It's sometime in the next week or so. The point is, we'll be doing the Acolyte when it comes out, and we'll finally be able to swim out. We'll finally be able to find the moisture in this desert in a Star Wars desert that is fucking media right now. But at any rate, yeah, I know I had to get one. I had to get one in there because we are trying to be fulcrum entertainment, not X-Men entertainment. But yeah, until next time, I have been Gilbert.
I have been Harry.
I've been Peaky.
And this has been the Fulcrum Entertainment Podcast. Thank you all for listening, and we are going to go out on the greatest soundtrack of all time.
Spider-Man.